doctors. This is Mahesh, GM Marketing, Forts India. Let me welcome you for the evening for the webinar on supportive treatment options in COVID-19. Especially there are many is recommended by the government as well as the social media. Everybody has been promoting that few supportive therapies for COVID for preventing COVID, like zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D3. And today we are discussing more the supportive treatment options for children. And to discuss more in depth, we have Dr. Janani Shankar. We are welcoming you, madam, for this webinar. And madam is having around 25 years of teaching as well as the research as well as the practicing experience. And Madam is working as a senior consultant in Kanchi Kamakodi Child Trust Hospital. Madam is having many interest in like emergency medicine, hematology, as well as the infectious disease. Also, Madam has published more than 60 publications in the journals and won lot of awards. And Active Pediatrician Award received from IAP Tamil Nadu. Also, Madam has been a Scroll of Honor 2011 for the National Board of Examination. And Madam has been a part of many expert committee membership like IAP and tuberculosis and WHO dengue guideline preparation. And above all, she is the very busy practitioner in Kanchi Kamakodi Hospital. And we have been approaching Madam for the dates for quite a long time, but finally we got the dates from Madam. And today, Madam is there to discuss in depth about the supportive treatment options in COVID, especially for the children. So, on behalf of Forts, we are welcoming you, Madam, for the webinar, and it is
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So in the next half an hour to 45 minutes, we'll just look at what are the supportive treatment options that are available in COVID-19 for children. So thanks to Forts India team, I'm so extremely sorry for not complying with you for the earlier dates. So I'll try to do justice in the next half an hour. So COVID-19 has been a big challenge. It's been a pandemic world over, and we are facing a real crisis time all over the world, especially in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai. We still have a lot of positive cases. We were just discussing with the manager, Mr. Mahesh, that the actual numbers that are quoted are much lesser than the actual numbers. So fortunately, I think we all, colleagues at work, we all say that thankful that we are pediatricians, because at least in pediatrics, the treatment is rewarding and we don't have any mortality. As of Child's Trust, as early as the lockdown was announced, the first lockdown was announced in March, and the entire hospital got tuned to the management of COVID-19. Our medical director, Dr. Balasubramanian, immediately formed the COVID-19 committee, expert team, which comprised of microbiologists, doctors from various specialties, intensive care, emergency medicine, infectious diseases, surgical department, everywhere. And so we formed a separate outpatient department for examining children with suspected COVID, which means children with fever, children with abdominal pain, children with history of contact with COVID patients, children who had a history of travel, contact with anyone who traveled from the US. Initially in March, April and all, people were still coming, no? So only in March, end of March only, they stopped international travel. So till then people were coming. So we were screening all these children separately in a dedicated outpatient department, very close to the emergency department. There was a set of triage nurses who used to triage them and then make them enter the fever clinic or the outpatient clinic upstairs where all the consultants are available. Once they don't have any of these suspected criteria, then they are sent up to the consultant's OP. But everywhere, all of them followed complete personal protective equipment was used. And as on date, we have not had any healthcare worker with a major COVID-19 illness. We did have a few of them who were positive, but all of them had a very, um, I mean, benign course. Most of them were treated at home. So moving on to supportive treatment options. As you all know, the government of India clearly in its guidelines have told the supplementation of vitamin D, vitamin C and zinc in almost all adults. I think it's mandatory once they get admitted in the quarantine center or in the hospital, they're all given multivitamin tablets which contain zinc, vitamin D and vitamin C, or the tablets are given separately. So what about these options in children? We'll just go through. Zinc, I think, has been with us for quite some time, and zinc is a very favorite molecule for all of us. There's a high prevalency of zinc deficiency worldwide because the zinc content of the soil is very less. And what about the role of, in the last couple of years back, zinc played a vital role in the management of gastroenteritis, and it's become a part of management of the consensus statement of IAP had released zinc to be used in all children with acute gastroenteritis. So it does help. It does help in the regeneration of the epithelium. A similar same mode of action is there for children with SARS-CoV-2. It improves the mucociliary clearance. All of you, as you all know, the entry point is through the respiratory tract, and then it goes inside, gets lodged into the alveoli, and then causes pneumonia or ARDS. So zinc by itself helps in mucociliary clearance, and there's a hope that the virus will get cleared with zinc supplementation. And it also inhibits replication of SARS-CoV-2. That's again a rewarding positive news for us. Definitely it modulates antiviral immunity and limits excessive inflammatory response. So zinc also, the excessive inflammatory response, which is called as the cytokine storm, and in children it's called the multisystem inflammatory syndrome. We were just discussing about that. So it also limits excessive inflammatory response and inhibits bacterial co-infection. So as you can see, there are so many roles that zinc plays, and yeah, this is what COVID-19 definitely impairs mucociliary clearance and predisposes the lung for further viral and bacterial aggression, and zinc plays the role to improve this. So this is what happens. Zinc acts on the cilia morphology. It increases ciliary beat frequency, and the mucociliary clearance is helped. And it also increases the barrier function. So it's also supposed to decrease the activity of the ACE receptors of SARS-CoV-2 replication. So the ACE receptors, once they active, the SARS-CoV-2 virus gets bound to the ACE2 receptors and causes all the damage. But what zinc does is it tries to decrease the activity of these ACE2 receptors. And it also inhibits the RDRP and blocks further replication of RNA. So again, so the viral replication is prevented, and the adhesion of the virus to the ACE2 receptors is also inhibited. So, and it also modulates antiviral immunity by increasing the production of interferon gamma, and it also upregulates all the viral proteins. So, and inhibits translation. So those are all the so many useful functions of zinc, as you are seeing in the slides that are coming. It also offers anti-inflammatory activity and downregulates the pro-inflammatory cytokine production. Cytokine storm is one thing that is very, very scary in adults. This is the one that kills many of the young adults, and this is what is manifested as MISC in children. So zinc helps in prevention of this too. And the other advantage of zinc is it also inhibits the coexisting bacterial infection like pneumonia, strep pneumonia. So some of them, when they have a viral infection, they are immunosuppressed, and they can get, if they are not immunized, they can get a co-infection with the bacteria. So it prevents the strep pneumonia infection and also modulates the bacterial homeostasis. So, so the same thing, zinc supplementation has been very beneficial to prevent pneumonia, ARDS, and ventilator-induced injury, and also the cytokine storm. So this picture summarizes all the functions of zinc. The ACE2 receptors, it deactivates them. It also has the RBNP molecule, and then the mucociliary clearance, then the interferon gamma, the antiviral immunity, the prevention of septic pneumonia co-infection, and in the end, it causes less chances of pneumonia, ARDS, and ventilator-induced lung injury. So this is an interesting article in the International Journal of Molecular Medicine, where they have discussed in length about zinc and respiratory infections. So zinc, they conclude by saying that zinc may possess protective effect as preventive and adjuvant therapy of COVID-19 through reducing inflammation, improvement of mucociliary clearance, prevention of ventilator-induced lung injury, and modulation of antiviral and antibacterial immunity. So in all aspects, zinc helps the patient to cope up with the COVID-19 infection. So that's about zinc. So I think there are enough roles that the zinc is playing in these children or adults with COVID-19. So there's nothing wrong. In fact, it's better to prescribe zinc for these children because you don't have anything to prescribe. At least you can prescribe something which helps them. So role of vitamin D. What about vitamin D? Vitamin D again has been there with us for the last 20 years, and it's done a major breakthrough in the adult vitamin D deficiency in children. The awareness was created about 20 years back. I think one of the key persons who did a lot of research work on vitamin D was our own medical director, Dr. Balasubramaniam. So vitamin D, as you all know, again plays a lot of role in both innate and adaptive immunity. Again, vitamin D by itself, as you can see here, it helps in or it decreases the autoimmunity, decreases the adipose tissue inflammation, decreases the chances of lung fibrosis. So this is one thing that CT findings, you can see the ground glass appearance, and all these adults and adolescents who have a pneumonia or a lung infection, later on they develop lung fibrosis. This is one thing that people are really worried about. You call it as long haulers effect or the longer effect of COVID-19. This is one thing that we are really worried about. So vitamin D helps in preventing lung fibrosis. It also has these decreasing the aromatase activity, and the cytokine storm, it plays a role in regulating the IL-1, IL-6, IL-12 and TNF-alpha, and by that the cytokine storm is also prevented. So so this ACE2 receptor, like zinc, it also has an effect on the ACE2 receptor. So as you can see here, it helps in recruitment to infectious sites, recruitment of the neutrophils to the infectious sites, total lymphocyte activation, intracellular killing, beta defensin activity, and here again it helps in induction of apoptosis and inhibition of proliferation and immunoglobulin secretion. So in the end, again, it plays a lot of role. The added advantage of vitamin D over zinc is this part. The reduction in autoimmunity and the reduction in lung fibrosis and reduction of the adipose tissue inflammation. So as I said earlier, same thing, anti-proliferative and anti-inflammatory function on adipose tissue. So anti-fibrotic effect on lung tissue. I think this is the most important thing that vitamin D helps. And again, cytokine storm, which reduces the chances of cytokine storm. So it interacts both with the innate and the adaptive immune system. It activated toll-like receptors. Yeah, this is again a very lot of research has been done on what exactly the pathophysiology. These toll-like receptors, it gets activated and increases the levels of cathelicidins and beta defensins, and this in fact acts on the adaptive immune system and reduces the immunoglobulin secretion and the pro-inflammatory cytokine production. So these toll-like receptors reduces the cytokine storm by inhibiting the plasma cells from producing pro-inflammatory cytokines. So all effects or indirect effects on the cytokine storm, on preventing the cytokine storm. This is again a good article in the Journal of Endocrinology. Possible role of vitamin D in COVID-19 infection in pediatric population. Again, they also found the same thing. Little about what is about vitamin C. Vitamin C, again, it's age-old citrus fruits help in respiratory infections. It's, I think, this Party Vaidyam. So they always tell, no, always take some vitamins, lemon, orange juice, and all that they give when you have a severe cold, influenza. So vitamin C again helps in as immune modulators in the prevention of similar mechanism like how it acts against the influenza viruses. So vitamin C, what does it actually do? It reduces the chances of ARDS by again ACE2 receptors. All of them have something to do with the ACE2 receptors and modulation of the renin-angiotensin system, and thus helping the to restore the proper lung function. Again, cytokine storm, it prevents management of oxidative stress and cytokine storm. And it also prevents hyperactivation of the other immune system responses and inflammatory response syndrome. This is in children. Vitamin C helps to regulate the inflammatory system response so that immune cells may not damage. What exactly happens in all these inflammatory response syndrome is there's a dysregulation of the normal immune downregulation. Normally what happens when you have an infection, the helper cells and the killer cells are getting activated. So after a certain point of time, the helper cells have to quieten down and the killer cells have to take over and stop the inflammatory response. But what happens in the cytokine storm is there is a total dysregulation. So the normal down regulation that happens does not happen. So the killer cells don't do their role and the helper cells overdo. The killer cells underdo. So that is in a nutshell what really happens in cytokine storm. So there's the patient's immune system itself is becoming starting to work against the body immune system. So there's the cytokines are released in great numbers, or them act against the body's organs, and they develop multi-organ dysfunction, and some of them end up with acute kidney injury, and some of them, we lose some of them, and some of them really come out. And all your excess exhaustion, all your myalgia, everything is because of cytokine release. So this is what vitamin C does. If you look at this hesperidin, which is active molecule from vitamin C, it helps in cytotoxicity, inflammation. It prevents the release of all these cytokines. It acts on the ACE2 receptors and also acts on the viral replication and transcription. So at all levels, again, vitamin C acts similar to zinc and vitamin D. So the Sports B syrup has adequate amounts of zinc, vitamin C and vitamin D. If you look at the, there are 3 brands here. That's and thanks to this slide, Mr. Mahesh. So this is what I was mentioning. Make sure what you're using. So if the child is already getting 400 international units, and if you're going to write syrup which contains 800, that means the child is going to get 1,200 per day, which can be very toxic. So you mention how much of international units you need. See, for an adult, it's okay. You can give 800, you can give 1,200 or so, because most of us are deficient in vitamin D. But for children, because there's a lot of awareness about vitamin D supplementation in infants, and most of them continue it up to 1 year. So make sure when you're prescribing to younger infants and also to older children, because they're all on fortified preparations which already has vitamin D, and they're already getting some multivitamin syrup which will have vitamin D. So before you prescribe, make sure that they're already, because now, yesterday we had a child, we asked them what are you giving, because that child came with a renal calculus and calcium was some 13 or 14. When we asked them to take out the syrups, they took some 10 or 15 bottles, each of them containing vitamin D. So it's very important. I think as practitioners, it's our role. We play a vital role in also preventing overdosage of drugs and causing iatrogenic complications. So this is one paper in the about the role of vitamin C. Hesperidin, as I told you, active vitamin C molecule. There's a new light on the healthy function of citrus fruits. There's no dearth for citrus fruits in Chennai. I think we have a lot of oranges and lemon. Please ask your patients to have lemon juice and orange juice. I think the ones who are quarantined and the ones who are hospitalized, Government of India makes sure that they all get some form of citrus juice at least one time in a day. So again here, brief overview on the role of vitamins, specifically vitamin C. This is again a good paper just in print, not yet published, role in vitamin C as immune modulators and prevention and treatment of SARS-CoV-2 infections. So I think discussed about the role of these three major molecules. Zinc is a micronutrient, and vitamin C and vitamin D again micronutrients and vitamins. I think when you have a child who's been exposed, who's positive, asymptomatic, positive, symptomatic, negative, exposed, negative chances of getting infected in a household where there are a lot of adults who were positive, who are having a high risk, like healthcare workers like us. When we have children at home, I think it is not wrong in prescribing some supplements like vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D, not only to those who are asymptomatic, the ones who are symptomatic, and the ones who are probably being more chances of being exposed to SARS-CoV-2 infection. So I thank Coach B. If there are any questions, I'll take it. I'll stop sharing so that we can take questions.
The first question is, what is the per day dose of zinc and vitamin D3 in children age around 1.5 years?
Zinc, I think 1.5 years you can give up to 20 milligrams.
20 milligrams.
And vitamin D you can give up to 400 international units.
Okay, ma'am. I think only one question has come as of now.
So only thing is, whenever you're prescribing any syrup or drops, check the quantity in that, especially vitamin D. Zinc and vitamin C, even in excess, nothing happens.
Okay.
But vitamin D alone, I'm really worried, because that I really wanted this platform to also tell them about not over prescribing vitamin D, because most of them are already receiving. If you ask,
as per your regular practice and you have been seeing a lot of children.
Yeah.
Is there any need for the 2000 IU per day or 4000 IU per day or 1000 IU?
Not required. That is only in deficiency. See, when they have deficiency, we always give them 10,000 international units for 10 weeks. Yeah, 60,000 totally. 6,000 international units for 10 weeks. So 60,000 units.
Okay.
That is deficiency prescription. Not for the ones who are in insufficiency, and you don't have to give that much. You just have to supplement them with maintenance dose. The ones who are already having adequate dose, you don't have to give anything. As a rule, all breastfed children up to 6 months, we give vitamin D, 400 international units per day. Apart from that, we also give vitamin D supplementation to children who are on anticonvulsants. Long-term anticonvulsants, we give them vitamin D because they are predisposed to vitamin D deficiency because of the action of anticonvulsants on the system. And the ones who are on long-term steroids like nephrotic syndrome, someone with SLE, in autoimmune disease who are on steroids, ITP. So who was receiving long-term steroids, we give them autoimmune encephalitis, myoclonic seizures who are on steroids. For all of them, we give them vitamin D additional dose. But we always check the dose. We tell the parents to give it appropriately.
Another question is that, madam, many of the pediatric cases also have the derma issue.
What issue?
Derma.
Ah, yeah.
Skin related infection.
Yeah, rash and
rash and other things. So many dermatologists prescribe the steroid containing preparation.
Yes.
So whether that will deplete the vitamin D in the body, topical steroid application?
Not really. I mean, I don't think so, unless they're using it for a longer time, more than the time that it's prescribed.
Okay.
I don't think so. The COVID-related dermatological manifestations are very transient.
Okay.
They have severe erythematous rash on the palm soles, and they have it on the trunk, which disappears as the child improves.
Okay.
What is called as COVID toe, we see something like a vasculitis. That again, part of the treatment with steroids and other things, they improve. It doesn't deplete vitamin D. I don't know.
I think what is the dose of vitamin C? That is another question, ma'am, from one person.
I'm not really sure about vitamin C. You can just give them some fruit juices or vitamin C. It's available as that Sub-C tablets.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Any vitamin C, I don't think you should get worried. Even if in excess also, it's good only.
Since
Vitamin C is very safe. It doesn't cause any toxicity. If at
because
all
of the water
it can
soluble
cause some
nature,
gastritis.
only because of the water soluble nature,
Yes.
the excess can go.
Vitamin C in excess also, if at all it can cause gastritis. Nothing else.
Yeah. So in all the, because when in the introduction we told that you have made a lot of the expert committee guidelines and all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all questions has come for only the dosage.
Okay,
What is
okay.
the dosage? What is the dosage?
Yeah, zinc you stick to less than 6 months, stick to 10 milligram, more than 6 months, 20 milligrams. Vitamin D, again, 400 international units if it is less than 1 year. More than 1 year, you can go to a little older children, you can go up to 800 international. Adults, adolescents, you can even give about 1,200.
Okay. Okay. Right. So only these are all the questions, ma'am.
One more question.
And Dr. Ashish Pradhan has told that it is a nice presentation also.
Thank you.
So thank you, doctor. And
How long you want to give in COVID?
Yeah.
As long as the pandemic is there. At least till the end of this year.
Madam, when you build the immunity, so currently if you say for all the quarantine patient and all, so they are giving for only 10 days.
No, that's what, see, the ones who are infected, you give it only during the duration. For the ones who are, any child, like children, no, they can get infected at any time. So supplementation with small amounts, nothing will happen.
Okay.
If at all, you're trying to also immunomodulate them, no? So if not SARS-CoV-2, other influenza virus infections also will come down. So again, now October, November, you're going to have an influenza epidemic. You're going to have a flu season and many bronchiolitis and viral associated disease, viral pneumonias, everything will come. And it also helps them to protect against strep pneumonia, as we saw in one of the slides. So there's nothing wrong in giving. Just a vitamin which contains all these, single syrup which contains all the 3 vitamins, no harm in giving.
Yeah.
Parents are also happy that they've given something to protect their child against the infection.
Yeah. So thank you very much, ma'am, for your patient answering also.
Yeah.
And let me once again thank you on behalf of the entire team of Forts as well as the participants.
There are brands which contain 50 mg zinc, whether it is necessary.
50 mg older child, I don't think there's any.
It is not specified or child age or.
Yeah, that is what 50 mg. I wouldn't give it for a child who's less than 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
An older child, fine. Yeah. I should thank you for bearing with me. I was.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.